Scream was directed by Wes Craven. It was one of the earliest, actually probably the earliest, or probably one of the first horror films for our 21st century to be made. So Scream basically tells a story about this teenage girl named Sydney Prescott. She's basically a teenager that's going through problems in life and stuff like that. A year ago, her mother passed away in some tragic event. She was butchered in her home by some random guy. And a year later, these other deaths around Sydney Prescott and the entire neighborhood start happening. And they basically, these two psychotic killers dressed up as these ghost face or something, and they basically go on a killing spree while all this is happening in the neighborhood, and it's like everywhere. So basically, before I talk about the importance of this movie, let's talk about Wes Craven and how he planned to make this movie. So Wes Craven is actually one of my favorite directors. I love Nightmare on Elm Street, one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and I love this movie too. It's definitely one of the greatest. But Wes Craven, when it comes to Wes Craven, Wes Craven, he's like, he's good. He's okay at making some horror films. He's only best known for a couple of them. But, you know, there was this one time where Wes Craven thought, you know what, we gotta remake these horror, we gotta remake the horror genre. Because not a lot of people are going to keep on seeing stuff like, Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers and Jason and other stuff like that. They are really good, and people all love them, but we need to have something new. That's what Wes Craven said. We need to focus on something new for the horror genre and for the 21st century, and that's exactly what he did. He made this movie Scream, which was a huge hit. It was a huge hit. Everyone loved it. Some critics seem to love it. It won a fair score on Rotten Tomatoes. It won 79%, and 7.2, I think, on IMDb. This movie is absolutely perfect. When I first saw it, I've never seen a horror movie that actually, well, a slasher horror movie actually, that actually surprised me. It has great acting, the characters, I fell in love with the characters a lot. I loved, Sydney Prescott. I thought she was an amazing character. She's played Neve Campbell, and I was definitely surprised by her performance. And the thing that's also cool is, you can kind of, like, the murders, you don't know, like, it's a mystery, so you don't really know what's causing, like, who's, like, killing off these people, but when it comes to characters like Billy, he's one of those characters that you mostly pay attention to, because he actually does look like someone that would kill someone. He does look like a serial killer. Every time I would look at, I think of him as a serial killer, and I'm pretty sure that's what Wes was going. I also like Matthew Lillard, who plays as a character named Stu in this film. He's actually kind of a pretty disturbing character. He's kind of, one of those characters that you would least expect to be a serial killer. I mean, he kind of does turn out to be one in the ending, but, it's just unexpected. It's so unexpected, and that's what Wes does perfectly. It surprised me when I found out that there was actually two people in this entire thing. Like, in this entire film, you did not know that there were two people together in this, like, slaughtering people. They were just, like, in costumes, and you didn't know it all along. That's the big mystery. And Wes does it so well. Wes Craven does it so well. And what can I say that hasn't been said already about this movie? This movie is a classic. It's an instant classic, just like A Nightmare on Elm Street. Scream is definitely a classic. If you guys are fans of horror, definitely check this movie out if you haven't seen it. Now, let me talk about the acting in this movie. The acting in this movie, I barely had any problems with the acting in this movie. Sometimes there are some, like, a-hole characters in this film that can get a little too good. The acting's very good. It's just that their characters are just so dirty. Some of the characters in this movie are so dirty, and you can appreciate the actors, but the characters you don't really appreciate that much. And that's another thing that I respect and don't respect at the same time, but it still works. It still works for a horror film, because in horror films, you're supposed to have, like, these horny teenager characters that are bad and dirty and stuff like that. But listen up, I don't want to get too negative about the acting. The acting in this movie is perfect in my opinion. I have no problem with the acting. It's just some of the characters to me, like, they're not even, like, important characters. They're just characters that pop up. And some of these characters, they're just, like, there for no reason. They're just there to be a-hole characters. But I think the acting in this movie is top-notch. In my opinion, the best actor in this movie has to be Jamie Kennedy, who plays as a character named Randy. I love his character. His character is amazing. He is a smart and intelligent character. He knows what horror is. He knows the horror genre better than anyone else in this film. He even admitted to himself in the film that if it was a real movie, he would be the suspect of the entire situation. But I loved his performance, and I can't wait to see him in more movies. Another thing that I love about this movie is not only the acting and the plot, but Wes Craven introduces, like, he mentions classic horror movies, like, all through the run of the movie in Scream. Like, in the beginning of the movie where, Billy or the Ghostface calls, the woman on the phone, and he's all like, "What's your favorite scary movie?" And she's like, Halloween. Yeah, all these, classic horror movies. You have Halloween, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. All these classic horror movies are mentioned in this in particular flick. And Wes Craven does a great job on that too. He doesn't let his fans down. But let me talk about Scream and how it, reinvented the horror genre in our 21st century. Because when I say it, it really did. Like, let's say movies like, You're Next, The Strangers, The Purge, Hush, which is a film that's actually on Netflix. But yeah, without Scream, you wouldn't have those movies, because Scream is the movie that it's the movie that reinvented our horror genre for the 21st century. It really is, and it's a flick. It's a huge movie. It's a very huge movie, and it did pretty good on the box office and a fair score on Rotten Tomatoes, like I already said. But to me, this has to be one of the greatest horror movies ever. The suspense in the movie, it is good. It is good enough. And I love, I was surprised on the gore in this movie. I wasn't expecting that much gore in this movie because this is a teen film, but yet again, a horror film. But yeah, the gore in this movie is actually pretty, good. It was actually pretty good. But the thing that's the most interesting in this movie is seeing Sydney, how she handled the situation, how she, finds out about this situation. Like, when she's first being called, and she thinks it's one of her friends, like Randy, and then once the person starts to say, "If you hang up on me, you'll die, just like your mother," that's when the situation first starts to come on. And when, after the situation happens, like, after she's been attacked, Billy comes out of nowhere through the window, and she suspects that he's the murderer, and we all suspect that he's the murderer from the beginning to the end. And it's basically, we saw it coming, but what we didn't see coming was that there were two murderers, and that's what really surprised audiences and stuff like that. I also want to talk about the design for the Ghostface costume. I have no idea who designed the costume, but whoever did is a genius. That is actually terrifying. The Ghostface costume is actually terrifying. It's probably more terrifying than the Michael Myers costume. I can't say Friday the 13th, but it's definitely more terrifying than the Michael Myers one. But yeah, they did a great job on the design. It's very good. As long as the others, for the other Scream movies, they did a very great job. And there's also some kind of backstory that I found interesting to why Billy and Stu killed off Cindy's mother. So basically, Cindy's mother was known as a tramp, basically. So she was making out with Billy's father. So basically, Billy's father and his mother had a divorce. So since they had a divorce, Billy killed Sydney's mother right in front of Sydney, because they had sex and the mother and father got a divorce. So the mother was kind of a pedophile in the movie or something like that. Even though she wasn't around, she was known as a pedophile in the movie. And I think it has to do with her relationship between her and Sydney. Because think about it. She's not a single mother. Because Sydney does have a dad too. So she's basically married to the father. So basically what happened, she probably, like, cheated on the father or something like that, and, well, she didn't cheat on the fathers, but the story just, behind, Billy's, past goes so on and so on and so on. But other than that, the rest of the movie is fantastic. I fell in love with the suspense scenes. I love the acting. I definitely love the characters. Some of the characters in this movie, like I said, are a-holes. The ghost face is fantastic. Whoever made that, I have to give credit for that. Whoever designed it, fantastic job. But the movie is fantastic. It's one of my all-time favorite horror movies. Definitely a must-watch horror movie if you haven't seen it, but definitely a must-watch. I suggest you see this movie sometime around late September or October. Sometime in the season around Halloween, because that's the best time to watch movies like this. It's surprising. I swear this movie will keep you in your seat. You will not be disappointed. Everything in this movie I absolutely adore and love, aside from A Nightmare on Elm Street, which is also one of my favorites. And you know what Scream already.
Scream gets an A+.
So guys, thank you for watching my horror movie review of Scream. I will probably do a horror movie review of Scream 2 if I can. I don't know if I'm going to do a horror movie review of Scream 3 and 4 because I haven't seen those ones yet. But I might do a horror movie review of Scream 2. Just so you know, I did decide to start my horror movie reviews early. I decided to start them a couple days early. I said I was going to start them in August, but I wanted to start them a couple days earlier. And there's a reason for that. I just love horror movies and I can't wait. So I'm starting them really early because who cares? I don't care. So, anyway, I would love to do horror movies for you guys. I'm going to be trying to do horror movies every week from now on. Horror movie reviews every week from now on. Aside from Super Mario Bros. Show, I might do some certain episodes of that, but you guys will see. But anyway, thank you guys for watching me do another horror movie review. And as always, I am Mario Fan 520, and I will see you next time. Peace out.